November 13th, 1992. Aladdin saw its release in theaters, which would later become the year's highest grossing film. Whom the presidency he fell to Bill Clinton and and Christmas with the Joker aired on TV around the US. Hello everyone, and welcome to my video celebrating 30 years of Batman the Animated Series. Now, this is actually among my favorite shows growing up, alongside Superman, Men in Black, and Pokemon, of course. And I really appreciate how the creators took the demographic they're writing for seriously because of who they were, rather than spite of them. And it's held remarkably well over these last few decades, and it seems like trying to recreate the look and feel of like the Fleischer Brothers Superman and in theatrical shorts from the 1930s and look and feel, especially. I also really appreciate the whole Art Deco influenced look of the architecture in the series. It's to the point where, rather than the usual technique of adding dark colors to lighter paper, they did it by adding light colors to darker ones. You can see that even the intro sequence, and I really enjoy like the remaster they've done with the copies I have access to. I mean, on my computer and most streaming services. I mean, and I also note that while I may not have been able to rewatch every episode like I wanted to, like with X-Men, like that show, I do remember quite fondly, so I'll be able to give quite the account of how much I appreciate it and how, in my honest opinion, it changed the landscape of animated TV, especially around us, for the better. Yeah. And two key aspects that still stand out to me when we watching this are quite vital. That's that it focuses much on the detective aspect of the character as it does like the superhero one, which is a fixture of life incarnations, like the fifth film, Dark Knight, obviously, that entire trilogy, the DCU version of the character to an extent. Fingers crossed about what James Gunn and Peter Safran have planned, and the Arkham series, which I'll get to more in a little bit. And now we can also add the Matt Reeves version of the character to the list as well. I mean, and another concept between all of those ones is like a character who had not truly had inner tone behind a mask. I mean, losing one's parents at such a young age can definitely have that effect on a person, especially. And and on the other side of the coin, the Rose Gallery is another standout as well. How and how it managed to reshape public perception of a lot of the ones that had some really silly stuff in Silver Age as well. Another aspect I like is how co-creators Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, as well as other people working on the show, managed to work little limitations that the standard prices had at the time rather against them. That they use some technique that's been used in everything from the Looney Tunes to the Gong Show to countless others, where every single time they take time they have a sequence that gets rejected by the watchdogs, they would take it in place of something worse, and they never noticed. Basically, it's like they keep going for it's like, okay, you win, we'll take that out, but we gotta leave this other stuff in. One example that stands out is like the Joker's gas, which first appeared in the last half, and while they couldn't show people physically dying on screen, the gas basically showed that they permanently drive them laughing mad, which in many ways is actually a lot worse. Yeah. But before I get into Clones Crime once again, I also point out how other figures, like my first exposure to all of them, like how, like with Bane, Clayface, actually doing a good job capturing the nuance in the comic. Two-Face's depiction, especially a notable how a noble public servant can be physically and mentally scarred into becoming like a violent criminal whose very moral compass has become a coin toss. Poison Ivy is less of the remorseless villain she was before and more well-intentioned extremist, and is wanting to protect endangered plants, but for the wrong reasons. And one notable one is playing like Mr. Freeze, Heart of Ice being a more nuanced portrayal, very sympathetic villain, which became a fixture of the character in every subsequent incarnation to date. And now, I'll present him. I look back at Christmas with the Joker. This was the second episode ever in airing order, though depending on where you're watching it, it was definitely much longer down the line production order. Nevertheless, it's become a tradition of mine that I've taken up ever since I came of age, and it's really one I never had a chance to revisit. It starts off with the Joker breaking out Arkham Asylum on a rocket Christmas tree and interrupting like the annual show of His Wonderful Life on TV. He by kidnapping the commissioner of police. He's Barbara Gordon as well as fellow Lieutenant Harvey Bullock. Again, another character I was introduced to with this series, and I definitely appreciate how even in a Christmas setting it managed to add like the whole atmosphere being like a very noirish detective story as well, and especially how Hamill's portrayal of the character is quite charming and his villainy, like how even as he just is willing to destroy bridges and attack citizens just because he finds it funny, he is truly a very sick clown. You know that. I mean, the vocal performances in the show definitely he also gave distinctive, not only in terms of quality but also the characterization. That they both fit tremendously. The fact that Kevin Conroy's Batman and Michael Keaton's Joker are essentially two sides of the same coin, and they've even made recurring appearances in later versions, like some of the DTV movies, on these video games such as the Arkham series. Because, I mean, Kevin is also continue to make appearances in stuff like the Injustice games, multiverses. As though it's definitely, I'll be addressing that even further in a bit, and just the whole way of the city and how the Joker is broadcast from one place, but basically Bats are find before midnight before the whole city and the commissioner and the other hostages with it are destroyed. With the Joker's plan, including exploding Betty Blooper dolls, whose Batman and Robin will trace his location to the abandoned Lafayette toy factory, where he's met with traps of exploding jack-in-the-boxes and giant and toy soldiers. Just like how the latter featured in Super Nintendo game was pretty fun. The Genesis game wasn't quite as good, but it had a sauce before that. Yeah, brief segue before I start wrapping this up like a Christmas present to you all. All is like, my favorite episode was definitely had to be Baby Doll, in which a former child star who ends up having career problems because of a rare disease that keeps her from aging past her childhood, and the whole denouement is one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking things ever committed to anime television ever, if I may be totally honest. And that's both the perspective of a small child and me being now the same age as this show. Yeah. And there's that. Flip side of the coin, we also have Almost Got Him, which several members of Batman's Rogues Gallery are playing cards and telling stories about how their encounters with the Dark Knight and how they were this close to bagging him. This close. And definitely another one that really fits the whole detective atmosphere of the show, and how, especially like the HTV master of that one, especially, and even though the fourth season is more divisive, I got sauce for that one. Heck, Mad Love really they showed how heavy that Harley Quinn and Joker's relationship is. In fact, it was actually integrated back in the comics, so there's other continuities as well. I like how even DCU got that aspect of character right, so here we go. So, after rescuing Gordon, Barbara, and Bullock, as well as another skirmish at the toy factory, the Joker is sent back to Arkham, and Bruce does indeed get to watch his wonderful life of Richard. And this exchange actually even more great given Conroy's passing earlier this year. It really is Wonderful Life. It has its moments. This is easily one of my favorite traditions and to revisit every year, and the impact it has had on the franchise and TV as a whole cannot possibly be understated, especially by me. It led to other DCAU ones such as Superman, Batman Beyond, which I'll talk about another time, Justice League, Justice League Unlimited, ZX Shock, even more niche ones like Zeta Project as well. And Kevin Conroy continued to make recurring appearances and up until his passing earlier this year with the upcoming Batman Cape Crusader as well as Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, announced to be posthumous appearances by the character, him as a character, and even though I didn't really watch the game as much, that was still a great aspect and how I will continue to cherish this series and his presence in it for years to come. As I wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and say, rest well, Kevin. You will forever be my Batman and many others.